Rescissible contracts. Rescissions as a completed in Article 1380, 8 of the new Civil Code is a remedy granted by law to the contracting parties and even to third persons to secure the reparations of damages caused to them by a contract, even if this should be valid, by restorations of things to their conditions at the moment prior to the celebration of contract. It implies a contract which, even if initially valid, produces a lesions of a pecuniary damage to someone. Rescissions is a relief which the law grants to the premise that the contract is valid for the protection of one of the contracting parties and third person from all injury and damage the contract may cause, or to protect some incompatible and preferential right created by the contract. Rescission has the effect of unmaking a contract, or its undoing from the beginning, and not merely its terminations. Hence, rescissions creates the obligations to return the object of the contract. It can be carried out only when the one who demands rescissions can return whatever he may be obligated to restore. To rescind is to declare a contract void at its inception and to put an end what is to and never was. It is not merely to terminate it and release the parties from the further obligation to each other, but to abrogate it from the beginning and restore the parties to their relative position as if no contract has been made. Accordingly, when a decree for rescission is handed down, it is the duty of the court to require both parties to surrender that which they have respectively received and to place each other as far as practicable in his. Termination of a contract is congruent with an action for unlawful detainer. The termination or cancellation of a contract would necessarily entail enforcement of its terms prior to the declarations of its cancellation in the same way that before a lessee is ejected under a lease contract. He has to fulfill his obligations to render that had accrued prior to his ejectment. However, termination of a contract need not undergo judicial interventions. The parties themselves may exercise such options. Only upon disagreement between the parties as to how it should be undertaken may the parties resort to court. Rescissions described in Article 1380 and 1381 distinguishes from resolutions referred to in Article 1191 and 1592. The remedy of rescission is not confined to the rescissible contracts enumerated under Article 1381. Article 1191 of the Civil Code gives the injured party and reciprocal obligations, such as was contract, are about the options to choose between fulfillment and rescissions. Arturo M. Tolentino, a well-known authority in civil law, is quick to note, however, that the equivalent of Article 1191 in the Old Code actually uses the term resolutions rather than the present rescissions. The calibrated meanings of these terms are distinct. Rescission is a subsidiary action based on injury to the plaintiff's economic interest as described in Article 1380 and 1381. Resolutions. The action referred to in Article 1191, on the other hand, is based on the defendant's breach of faith, a violation of the reciprocity between the parties, as an action based on the binding force of a written contract. Therefore, resolutions under Article 1191 prescribe in 10 years. 10 years is the period of prescriptions of action based on written contract under Article 1144. The distinctions make sense. Article 1191 gives the injured party an option to choose between: first, fulfillment of the contract, and second is rescission, an action to enforce a written contract. Is definedly an action upon a written contract, which prescribes in 10 years. Article 1144. It will not be logical to make the remedy of fulfillment prescribe in 10 years while the alternative remedy of rescissions or resolutions is made to prescribe after only 4 years, as provided in Article 1389, when the injury from which the two kinds of action derive is the same. We must stress, however, that the rescissions in Article 1381 is not akin to the terms. Rescissions in Article 1191 and Article 1592 and Article 1191 and 1592. The rescission is the principal action which seeks the resolutions of cancellations of the contract, while in Article 1381, the action is a subsidiary